All right, we're here with Brendan Schofield. We promised that we would get a hold of him. So I watched this little interview. I don't know if you saw it today. And for you guys that don't know the story, Brendan was the dashing young lad that tried to come up on Deegan's bike. Rightfully so. It's a rule in the rule book. It's a very clear rule. If you don't know the rule, it's a claiming rule. You can look it up. Basically, what that is where you can claim someone's dirt bike at Loretta Lynns, any AMA race, but at Loretta Lynns for 2x of MSRP. Am I correct there?
Yep.
And
Yep. Correct.
There's probably some fine print on that, but that's the gist of it, right?
Yeah, it's just 2 times MSRP on any bike.
Yeah, and so I kind of put a little video out on some stuff that I heard yesterday, kind of whatever, it caught traction as most stuff does with Deegan involved. But I also didn't want to be that guy that was like, I don't want to be like, I'm not trying to, I mean, great, we're all trying to here to get views and create content for people to watch, but I don't want to be like lying to people or spreading false information. So I got a hold of Derek and now get a hold of you. And I just kind of want to hear your side of the story or what your thoughts are on the whole thing. So yeah, take us through whatever you want to take us through and just kind of give us some insight.
Yeah, so I'll start right from the beginning, I guess. This all started back in March at Freestone. I never read the rule book before, and I was with my dad, and we wanted to read the rule book to go over everything. And we read the rule book, and we're going through the rule book, and I find out about this rule where you can claim anybody's bike for MSRP times 2 at AMA Nationals. And at regionals, it's like half the price. So it'd be like it's like 12 or 13 grand for his bike at regionals.
Sure.
So I told my dad I wanted to do it. And I mean, I ride Yamahas, but if you're anybody, whose bike are you going to claim at a race, right? You're going to claim the Star Racing Yamaha, the fastest bike, the nicest bike, the coolest bike there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I told my dad I wanted to do it, and he said, well, if you want to do it, then you got to get your own money and do it with your own money.
Mm-hmm.
So I had money saved away, and I started working at Moto X. While I'm training, I was doing bike work as a mechanic, making money, saving it. Didn't have enough at regionals to do it at the regional. So I had to just wait till Loretta's. Got to Loretta's, had my money. So the kind of like the part that was like kind of confusing everybody was in the rule book. You have 30 minutes after the moto to claim a bike. It's not a protest. I'm not buying his bike. I'm buying it, but it's a claim. Like I'm claiming his bike. Anybody can do it to anybody's bike as long as you're in their class. You have to do it within 30 minutes after the end of the moto. But Deegan was in a Schoolboy 2 moto that I wasn't in, and it was the next day. So when I did my claim on it, it was at the end of, I think it was 250B, and that was Friday. So they had to, so in the rule book, it says, all right, claim the bike 30 minutes after the moto, bring the money, and then they take the bike to impound. So I walk up to AMA building at Loretta's. I walk in. I was like, hey, I'm here to claim Haiden Deegan's bike. And I mean, everybody's kind of faces, turned towards me, and they were kind of surprised. And AMA was awesome with it. I just want to make that clear. They were really good, and they handled the situation the way it should have been handled. And so the first person I talked to is Tim Cotter, and he never made it clear to me that he's not an AMA official. He's an MX sports promoter.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the start, I wasn't talking to the right guy. I believe the AMA official's name was Mike. But yeah, I was talking to Tim Cotter, and he's an MX sports promoter, not an AMA official. So, I mean, it didn't really have anything to do with him.
Sure.
So I was talking to him. I'm like, so here I have $17,000 cash right here. I said, it's MSRP times 2. The bike is such and such. You guys can search that up, everything. And yeah, I'm claiming Deegan's bike. So Tim Cotter was like, okay, Deegan has another moto tomorrow. We can't really take it to impound for the night. He still has a race on it. Usually when people do this, they don't have another race on it. I was like, okay, well, you can take it in for the night. After he gets his bike ready, I'll let him do his air filter, check everything over, like the normal,
Yeah.
get it ready for tomorrow, take it in for the night, and then give it back to him 2 hours before his moto, and good to go.
Sure.
Tim Cotter was the only one in that building that was kind of like, I don't know if I really want to impound it for the night. Every AMA person that was in that building was all for it, and they were all working with me and everything. So anyways, after talking and giving them money, they counted the money, they searched up the bike, found MSRP times 2, 17 grand, did all that stuff. AMA sent a team down to Haiden Deegan's camper to look at the bike, tell them that, hey, this kid, Brendan Schofield, he's claiming your bike. This is what's happening. Blah, 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 blah. Went over it. Everything was done there. I got my receipt. Everybody was cool. They're like, all right, sweet. Like, we're going to take the bike in for the night. We're letting them do their stuff to it. They put, I think they're called like seal stickers, and you put them on each case cover, like between cases, to make sure they can't crack the cases or the head or anything like that. Tag the ECU, can't switch that out. Did all that. And everything was good. And I left. No, I didn't leave yet. I went into a room. Hey, they called Brian Deegan up. So Tim Cotter told Brian Deegan. Brian Deegan was like, hey, yeah, I want to go talk to the people that are doing this, which I guess, yeah, but that's not really part of the claim. I'm just claiming the bike. Like, I don't need to talk to you. I'm talking to AMA. I'm dealing with AMA. So anyways, I'm a minor. I'm 17 years old. Tim Cotter and Brian Deegan pull me into a separate room in the building with nobody else in there. And I was just walked in. Brian Deegan was standing there. I was like, hey. He was like, so why are you doing this? I said, I just want the bike. He said, yeah, but why? And I was like, I want the bike. I want to ride it. I want to test it. I want to see what a factory star racing Yamaha bike is. Who doesn't want to see what that's like as a kid racing? That's everybody's dream, is to ride a factory bike,
Sure.
So I told him that, and he was he was pretty mad. And I told him, I was like, I understand that you're mad. I'd be mad, He said, well, I didn't know this was a rule. So me thinking, like, okay, he doesn't know it's a rule. How does he know any rule?
Yeah.
If he doesn't know this is a rule, he hasn't read a rule book, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking in my head. I never said that to him, but I was just kind of like, okay, that doesn't matter if you know it's a rule or not. You should read the rule book, like, whatever. So he was like, so are you trying to defame us from YouTube? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not trying to defame anybody. I'm not trying to do anything. Like, I know this is going to startle some people, make people mad. I'm just a kid. I just want a star bike, a factory bike to ride it. I was like, who doesn't? And for MSRP times 2, I said I worked my ass off since March to get this money. And this is what I'm going to do. And I'm doing it. And Tim Cotter was just sitting there, and he was just, just sitting there watching us talk. And then he was like, so why are you doing it? Who's behind it? And I said, I'm behind it. Okay, so why are you doing it? I said, I just want to ride the bike. I want to test the bike. I said, I might do YouTube videos on it. I might test it. I might show people. I might do part 1, part 2, part 3, take the bike down, do this, do that. I can do anything I want to, because it's going to be my bike. I'm buying the bike. It's an AMA rule stating I can do it. So I can do whatever I want. That's none of their business. And over, they just both kept asking me, like, who's behind it? Whose money? Why are you doing this? And I told them every time, like, this is why I'm doing it. It's my money. I'm the one who made the money. So it was probably like 30 minutes in there. I leave, get in my golf cart, go back to my camper. I get back to my camper, and guess who shows up 5 minutes later? Haiden Deegan.
No.
So he followed me from that building all the way in a side-by-side with his friends. There was like 3 or 4 of them. They followed me in my golf cart all the way back to my camper to see what I was doing, where I was parked, whatever. They just sat there, and my dad went up to them, talked to them. I said, like, this is our pits. Like, you can't follow me back here. So then that happened. About 3 hours, I would say like 3 hours later, my dad and I were just at our pits, just hanging out, and my motor guy, Derek, HP Race Development, he was at our pits. We were doing testing, like, figuring out my bike. He builds my motors. We have a Git ECU. We're like, trying to figure out mapping, talking about the motor, checking everything over, doing our normal thing. So Derek's with us, and this is where I watched Brian. I don't know if you watched Brian Deegan's live the other day, yesterday, I think it was, where
Yeah.
he mentioned that.
Did it get taken down?
I'm not sure, but he mentioned that, oh, it was his motor guy trying to buy the bike and all this. This is where he got that he thought my motor guy was buying it, was because my motor guy was with me when we went back up there because we were doing the bike stuff. He hopped in the golf cart with my dad and I. We went up there. So we got called back up to the building, and I walked in, and it was just the whole AMA staff and Tim Cotter. And they were just like, hey, so this is where we're at. We have the bike in our possession. We have all the stickers on the cases sealed. Everything's good to go. We just wanted to let you know that everything's good, but Haiden Deegan's mechanic wants to check or wants to drain the oil in the motor tomorrow morning. And I was like, okay, well, why wouldn't he do that tonight? They're like, well, he wants to do it tomorrow morning. And if he drains the oil tomorrow morning and finds metal shavings in it, he wants to pull the motor out and put a different motor in it. And I said, okay, that's fine, because the motor that comes out of the bike is going to be mine either way. And the motor they put in it is going to be mine too. That's what the rule says. So that's what I told them. And they said, yep. They said, whatever, you're following the rule. You're doing the right thing. We just wanted to let you know where we're at on this. And yeah, so AMA was awesome. They helped me. They worked with it. I'm just a 17-year-old kid. I didn't really know everything that was going on.
Yeah.
So they helped me, worked with me, and everything was good. So I left there, and Derek, the HP Race Development motor guy, he was like, hey, you want to go meet Caden Braswell? He's my other rider. So I was like, yeah, sure. Like, he just won the Pro Sport champ. So yeah, he was like, let's go to his pit. I'll, let him meet. He was a really good kid, all this. I'm going over there, and on the way over there, I passed by the Moto X pit, and we pull up to Caden's pit, knocked on the door. He wasn't there. So I'm still with my dad, Derek, myself, in a golf cart. I get a text from Matt Walker, my trainer. He says, hey, pull up by my pit. Let's talk. So I pull up by the pit. We all get off the golf cart, walk underneath his tents. I would say it's like probably 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's just starting to get dark. We go underneath the tent. He has like a 10 by 20 pop-up tent. There was like 5 chairs in a circle. We all sit down. It's Matt Walker, myself, my dad, Derek, and sitting across from me was Donnie, the Yamaha USA guy, is from what I understand. So I was like, hey, what's up? Right off the bat is when it all went wrong. He never said, hey, how you guys doing? What's going on? Any of that. Matt just jumped straight into it, used some words towards my father, myself, Derek, said some things that I don't want to like say, but he shouldn't have said anything to us like the way he did. He handled it, I think, really poorly. If I was him, I would have, being a 3-year loyal customer or a rider going to Moto X for 3 years straight, I think he should have called me, told me what he wanted to do, like talk to me, tell me what I should be doing, how I should be handling it, why he disagrees with it. But he didn't. He pulled me in there. I was kind of blindsided by it, but he used words against us, told us we were doing the wrong thing, and it was an unspoken rule that nobody should do this rule. It brings hate on the person that's doing it. Sponsors don't like it. And, just made it seem like it was the worst thing you could ever do in the world. And I could tell that was kind of when I realized how serious it was, like what I was doing. Donnie, he was scared. He was definitely showing some fear. And we talked about like what I was doing, and both of them asked me like, why are you doing this? Who's doing it? Whose money is it? Same things that Brian Deegan asked me and Tim Cotter, and I told them it's the same thing. And then Matt had suspicion that it was my motor guy doing it because my motor guy was with us, but he didn't know why my motor guy was with us. He never asked us. Like I said, he was with us because we were doing bike stuff, and he hopped in the golf cart and came up with us. So I told him over and over, I said, no, it's my money. I'm the one doing it. They don't have anything to do with it. I said, I worked my ass off for this money. This is what I want to do, and I'm doing it. And Donnie, he was, like saying, well, listen, like there's got to be a way we can work this out. He's like, what are you going to do with the bike? My dad said, we're going to take the bike. We're going to race it next week in Canada at Walton. And he said, well, who's going to do the motor work to it? Like that thing needs to be maintained, all that stuff. My dad goes, well, we'll figure that out. He said, it won't matter to you guys anymore because it'll be our bike. So anyways, he goes, well, he said, if anything happens to that motor, you can't buy anything to fix that motor. What he had just said to us was basically, we have parts in that motor that are built in factory that you can't buy.
Sure.
So then that's when I realized, oh, like this is really serious. This isn't an amateur normal motor. And that's when I believed, we never had confirmation on this, but I strongly believe that it was a fully built Star Racing factory pro motor. And my intentions of getting that bike was not that he was cheating. I never once thought they were cheating. I never once thought it was a pro motor. Never once thought any of that until that moment when I realized, like, wow, this is serious, and they're scared because I'm about to get a real factory Star bike. So he was, just saying like, yeah, he's like, this has taken us some serious time, some serious money, and a lot of testing to perfect this bike for Haiden and this motor and for Star. And yeah, so that's when I was like, well, I'm doing this. Like, I already put my money in. I want to do this. Meanwhile, this whole time I'm talking to Donnie, Nat's on the phone texting my sponsor. I won't say the sponsor's name, but Yamaha, or so I think that it went Haiden. So it went Tim Cotter told the Deegans told Star Racing Yamaha told USA Yamaha USA told Yamaha Canada because they found out I was Canadian. Yamaha Canada targeted my main sponsor, that is a Yamaha dealership, and threatened them that if I went through with this deal, that they would make sure that they never got any Yamaha dirt bikes through the door again. So that cornered my main sponsor that helps me out a lot. I wouldn't be able to race without them, and they do everything they can to help me. So they, put the pressure on them, threatened them, and was threatening, saying like they're going to take away the bikes and that dealership would, be done. So once that went through, yeah.
Insane. And I kind of heard that, and that's why I was like, well, I got to talk to you because I got that through the grapevine, but I was like, I almost didn't believe that piece because that's like, one, that traveled really quickly.
Yeah.
To make it all
really quickly
in like a couple of hours. And also that I think that there's, you never know, right? Because things happen in weird ways, especially when people are heated. Yeah. Like I'm guilty. Everyone's guilty of like in a moment of anger, doing and saying some things. That maybe even Yamaha was in that position where like, we probably shouldn't have called that dealer. Like that was too far. Yeah. But like the pressure, like to put that kind of pressure on you to pull the plug, whether they were cheating, I don't know if they were cheating or suspecting that they were cheating. I'm not getting into that. I don't even think that that's my place to talk about it. I don't think that he would. I mean, he would put a stock motor in and won the next day, or a less of a mod. He's going to win, right?
I have information on that too, yeah.
Yeah, my theory is that they may have some stuff that they just don't want people to figure out so they can keep the upper hand on the competition across the board.
Yep. Yeah. So Donnie thought that, we were going to get the motor, and my motor guy, Derek, was going to open it up and find out what was done with the motor and redo it. And everybody, I see comments and people saying, oh, your motor guy wanted to open the motor up to build Star motors to sell and make money. Derek he tried to shake Donnie's hand. Donnie wouldn't shake it, but he said, listen, he said, I have nothing to do with this. I don't want anything to do with your motor. He said, I'll make a promise to you right now, shake my hand, that I will never open that motor up. I won't touch it. I won't do anything, nothing. And Donnie never shook his hand, never really did anything. So yeah, but I don't think, I don't think they were cheating. I think the motor was legal, but it's a factory motor. So if that gets into the public's hand, Star's going to lose everything, like about their special factory Star motors that are so fast, and not even the motor, the ignition, like all the technology, the computer side of it. So yeah, to touch on what you said about the motor the next day, I heard from some people that Evan Ferry gave them a motor to run the next day in that next moto. And a lot of people are like, oh, this kid's trying to get his bike to think, he's going to ride a factory bike, he's going to win. No. Haiden Deegan could go ride anybody's bike on that line and beat everybody. Everybody knows that. The kid rips. I'm not going to hop on his bike and magically gain 10 seconds a lap or anything special. I just wanted to ride a factory bike, and that was plain and simple.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted. I just wanted the bike to ride it, test it, see what a factory bike is like. It's a dream for everybody to ride a factory bike. And yeah, I didn't think they were cheating or anything, but the way the situation was handled was pretty poorly by Yamaha and Star, I think, and Matt Walker. But AMA did a great job. I don't understand, it's a rule. It's an AMA rule. I followed the rule 100%, line by line, word for word, and I got screwed over just because they didn't want the motor out, I guess. And I had no choice, obviously. I had to go back and take my money back. And Tim Cotter said, so is this your choice? Like, it's all up to you if you want to take your money back, if you want to go with the claim. I said, well, if it was up to me, I would be going through with the claim. I'd be leaving with that bike tomorrow, but I have no choice right now. I'm cornered, I'm threatened, pushed everywhere. Like, I have nowhere to go. I'm in a corner. So I said, I have to take my money back, and I guess we won't do the claim. So.
That's crazy. Well, it's like what they say is like good publicity and bad publicity is still publicity, right? So there's some elements to that. I think, and everyone's been on this side. I've been on this side where it's like, one, people are going to make up stories about your decision, no matter good, bad, forever. If it's in the limelight, it's just going to be that way. And guess what? Hayden's going to deal with that for the rest of his life too. He's not always going to be perfect. He's not always going to make the best decision, and he is in the limelight. So if I were Brian, it would be a really nice opportunity for him to be like, hey, look, we can be angry about this, or we can push it off and know that our end goal is still going to be accomplished. Really, it's not on Brian or Hayden what Star does to that motor, right? They signed a contract and said, we'll ride you. They didn't sign a contract and say, we want to build the motors, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like whoever let him ride what we believe is a pro motor at Loretta's is kind of at fault here, because Hayden's obviously, like you said, just going to ride what they give him. And the rule is there for factory teams to go to Loretta's and say, hey, anybody can buy our bike for MSRP times 2. So for instance, his is 17,000. Let's build this bike, not too expensive, like 20,000, let's take our $30,000 suspension and just make it just good enough for him, like $10,000 suspension or $5,000 suspension. Let's take our $30,000, $40,000 motors that we build in house and just tame it down to just a GYTR head, cylinder, piston, this, that. That way, if somebody like myself comes along and wants to claim a bike, you're not going to lose your crazy factory bike that's fully built. So whoever let him ride that bike is kind of at fault, because you're letting a kid ride a who knows how expensive and bike at Loretta's, which is anybody can claim it. So I talked to some people. They didn't go to Loretta's with the bike would race at pro races. They went there with a bike that was half the price, like not as good suspension, not as fast of a motor. That way, if anybody claimed his bike, they're not missing out. Yep, take my bike, whatever, I don't care. So obviously there was some stuff that that bike had done to it that nobody wanted in the public, or else it wouldn't have been a big deal, and it shouldn't have been a big deal. I should have walked up there, gave them my money, waited for the next day. It should have been, in impound for the night, and then taken it from them after that moto. But
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, there's definitely some things there where it got a little, whatever. Emotions are high. It's never going to be perfect. No one's going to act perfect. No one's going to say the perfect thing.
yeah,
You follow the rule. The rule is like, whatever. It's a little bit shaky. Some people are going to agree with it. Some people aren't. But there has to be something there where the DeFranciscos
make it even,
and the Deegans of the world, like, don't like, they have another layer of advantage. They're already pretty already have a pretty heavy advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
I agree.
They have, but they they earn it. I don't want to take that away from them, and anyone has the opportunity to earn it. However, when you take it to that next level, I feel as if it's like one of those things where we need to make sure these guys aren't showing up with Justin Cooper's bike. You know what I mean?
Exactly, because like, we're at Loretta's, it's an amateur event, and they're on factory teams, which, cool. Like, you deserve to be on that factory team. You earned it. But we're at an amateur level in B class, where some people can't afford everything, but not even afford. Like, factory teams have ways to get stuff that we don't, and the public have ways to get it. So therefore, it's not really a fair. It's a disadvantage for us, and it's not fair. And that's what the rules there to make it fair. And it's Loretta's. People are going to build some fast bikes, do some crazy things, but factory teams have the advantage no matter what.
Yeah.
And no matter what bike Hayden's on, again, like, he's going to win. That's what people think. I'm trying to like take the bike and be crazy fast on it. That's not my idea. I wanted to ride a factory bike, and that was it. So
it'd be better. You maybe go a second faster too, maybe.
But maybe, but like, maybe I didn't like something, or maybe I liked this, but I didn't like that, or maybe it's this or that. Like, that's kind of the why I wanted to do it, like, to find out, like, because I know, like, you and everybody else were like, oh, if I had a factory bike, I would love it. It'd be perfect. It's an amazing bike. They're perfect. But maybe they're not. Maybe you don't like it,
Dude, I rode James Stewart's factory Suzuki.
Yeah.
It's like riding a spaceship.
Yeah.
It was so much better that it was kind of one of those things where I'm like, and now on the flip side, this is an outdoor bike. I rode his GTR Yamaha, and I literally rode it around the pits, like on the track, just a little bit back in. And it was like, whatever. It was so stiff and like so hard to ride.
See, like, that's maybe,
I literally, his mechanic's like, hey, feel this suspension, how stiff it is. Rode it over there, rode it back. I'm like, holy smokes. Like, I wouldn't even venture out on the Supercross track. You know what I mean? But on his Suzuki, when he was in the transition, and it may not have been of the exact like factory race bike, but it was like when he was transitioning to Suzuki, like a couple laps, it was like riding on clouds. It was insane. But so I get the desire there. I mean, it's the curiosity is
to try it.
It's worth knowing. And especially,
and I even told them, I said, you can buy the bike back for me, like for 17 grand or 20 grand or whatever I want to sell it back to you for. Like, I just want to ride it. Like, I told them that. I said, you can buy it back.
Okay, like,
but
all right, dude. Well, I don't want to keep you so long. I think that you've gotten I think the story is the story, right? This is the way you see it. And this is how I was talking to I talked with Derek a little earlier, and I'm like, hey, look, everyone was there. Their story is going to look a little different no matter who they are. Even if the words sound the same, the view of that story is always going to be a little different. So I think that, as long as you've got your side of the story, you feel good about it. I think people deserve to know it. Like I said, we're not like an interview channel or whatever, but I do think it's a hot topic enough for people to hear all sides. Like, because if Brian says his side, and then the motor guy comes on and says his side, your side, people can just, whatever, they can take it for what
mimic it and take little pieces and change it. Like, Brian acted like he was there for the whole time, but he was only there for 30 minutes in one room with me and Tim Cotter. He didn't know the full story, but he acted like he did, and kind of made up some false things, and everybody's going to believe the Deegans and Brian, and kind of put out a bad name there, like, for me, like, and the motor guy, but the motor guy had nothing to do with it. So
sure. All right, dude. Well, thanks for coming on. I'm sure you probably have to tell this story to a couple more people, but we'll keep rooting for you, and hope that people aren't too hard on you. Keep ripping. and hopefully we see you in Texas one day.